Here we go, it's all about you, it's all about me, it's all about what we do. Making art, you and me, trying to find something that you believe. Because I'm running wild, I'm running free, still got a lot of shit left to see.
So we're here to talk about challenges. Ooh, have you guys seen my shorts? I love how I didn't remember what it's called for YouTube. If you guys seen my shorts, then you've seen this dress already, but I feel like it's kind of giving tennis vibes. I just saw Challengers last week in the movie theaters, and I have to say I did enjoy the movie quite a lot. I feel like the cinematography was beautiful. A lot of the audio and the sound work was so impactful, especially when you can like just hear the sounds of tennis playing, the ball hitting the ground, hitting the racket, hitting the nets, the grunting. All of it was like very impactful, and I think used quite well in the storytelling. The storytelling was beautiful. It was a very simple story, but I feel like it was very impactful and effective. I need to go see who the director was of that movie. I haven't yet, but I will. But whoever the director is, mwah, hats off to them. The whole cast and crew, hats off to all you guys. Everyone did their role so well. The movie is a great movie if you guys want to go watch it. But as I said, it's actually a very simple plot. It's a very simple plot, so a lot of the movie I think is carried by the cast and crew. Like I said, those elements that make the movie feel impactful, dramatic, that carries the tension a lot. Things like the acting, the cinematography, the color grading, like the choices in audio and sounds and music here. Like the music for the beginning of the movie, it really revs you up for what's about to happen as well. All of these were like beautifully done and well-timed choices, and hats off. So let me stop spieling about how much I love the movie. Challengers is essentially about three main characters. One being Tashi Duncan, the other being Patrick and Art. Now, Art and Patrick obviously are already well acquainted with each other when we start the movie. Tashi is the curveball and the catalyst of the story, because she is the point in which drama starts to build and then snowball into the ending that we get, the very dramatic ending. The movie is dramatic in the sense of there are a lot of like dramatic relationships and that are involved and entwined with each other that would be perceived to be very messy, very, very messy. So the drama is about the relationships. It's not an action movie. It's, I don't know what category I would put this in, because it's definitely not a rom-com. Funny side note, I saw Amanda the Jedi's video about this movie just a couple of days ago. This is editing Brit. So it's funny because she compared it to like tennis anime and like other sports anime. And you know what? Yuri on Ice walked. Okay, so these people could run. Okay. Although I feel like there's way more sport in sport anime that's about like dramatic messy relationships at its integrity than Challengers. But yeah, one of the things that kind of inspired this video is a clip of the cast. Well, when I say the cast, the three main characters, Zendaya, Patrick Zweig is played by Josh O'Connor, and then Art Donaldson is played by Michael Fast. But yes, I saw a clip with these three actors talking about their characters in the movie and talking about this sport romance drama. And Zendaya had commented that most people who've seen the movie twice think that Art is the villain. Now, I think I have something to say about that.
I think the best thing about this, you called it codependency, the movie.
Yes. I say that because, honestly, all these characters are searching for something out of life that they can't get on their own, and ultimately ties them to each other.
And I would strongly disagree to say that anybody, first of all, is any one true villain in this story. And second of all, to say that if there is a true villain, that it would be Art. And so today we're going to break down the relationships between all three of these characters and do a character and relationship analysis. As the boys are the first characters we're introduced to, I think it's only fitting that I start with them. When we first see Patrick and Art, we start off with their career relationship dynamic, because they're not only friends, but they also work together in their sports career because they play in doubles. They don't play single matches, they play together, and they're known as Ice and Fire. So Ice Ice being Art, the more, I guess, demure of the two. I wouldn't call him shy, but he is just a bit more quiet. He's a bit more laid back. He doesn't seem to be someone who boldly seeks attention in the way his counterpart, Fire, being Patrick, tends to peacock and thirst for the eyes upon him. He doesn't crave spotlight in that way, and that becomes a very big part of the story going forward. And as I said, not Patrick, sorry, Art. See, like these two are so intertwined. They're so intertwined. They're like this. Yeah, Patrick is the one of the two who is Ice. He's more demure, he's more laid back. He doesn't crave attention in the way Art does. Art, otherwise known as Fire, is a very competitive, he has a very competitive spirit, he's very domineering, and we see how that relates into the relationship between them two, not only from a sports point of view, where, you know, you see a guy like Patrick loves to do a lot of trick shots on the field, which again points to his attention-seeking ways. He loves to impress people. It's also an indicator of that he's more of a risky player. So for Patrick, it's very low stakes for him. He's very willing to take risks like these in order to impress and shine. However, Art does not play that kind of game. Art is a more safe player, and he's a more reserved person. Let's go on to see how that dynamic and those personalities bleed into their friendship dynamics and how that affects their relationship as friends. One of the things that stood out to me in the very beginning of the movie was a lot of the cinematography choices and the way those characters and the actors interacted with each other. Patrick and Art, Michael and Josh. There were a lot of homoerotic implications that were heavily brought to the forefront of the acting and the cinematography with those two characters. That is, as I said, very heavy, very obvious straight from the very beginning. So when you're going into the movie, before we even meet Tashi, we have this sense that there is something going on that's more than meets the eye. Well, with Josh and Michael. Sorry, Patrick and Art. Pat and Art obviously have something that's underlining that suggests that they are a bit more than friends. But as I said, that is not really exposed to us so intricately until we meet Tashi, our catalyst. The boys stumble upon Tashi as they're walking around looking at other competitors at the competition. They're at a competition, they've just finished their doubles match, and they've gone on to another area where there's a singles female tennis match. And there is Tashi in the middle of her match against another competitor, and the boys are immediately entranced by her. I also noticed what each of the boys tend to really focus on when it comes to watching Tashi win her match. Absolutely play a beautiful, strong game, and she's very fierce. She shouts and she's not afraid to show her anger, show her passion, because for her, she's all about the game. Art admires her sportsmanship. Patrick quickly sexualizes her and admires her body whilst playing the sport. they have two completely outlooks into first seeing Tashi from the very beginning. Not to say that Patrick doesn't then, no, not Patrick. Not to say that Art doesn't then follow Patrick's lead in a way and sexualizes her as well in their conversation as they talk about her, as Art would and tends to do. So later on, when we see them essentially compete and try to win over Tashi later on in the movie, it should come, I guess, to no surprise that both of them take this as kind of a competition between themselves as well. And you start to wonder, is this even about Tashi? And I don't think it is. And this is my whole point into how I can't conceive how we can label Art as the, you know, master shadow villain all along. It was Agatha all along. I don't see it. It doesn't connect to me because they are in a toxic relationship square. These three fuckers. These weirdos are all insidious to each other in one way or the next. And we're gonna break it down. So, I haven't talked too much about Tashi, so let's just kind of start with her. Because as I said, she is the catalyst, so it's very important to kind of understand where her mindset and intentions lies, to then go and to dissect the boys. Tashi. I feel like Tashi, in all actuality, is the simplest character to understand. And she's also the most upfront in a way, which is ironic to say because she's also the only character to cheat on their partner, as far as I'm aware. Of all the characters, Tashi was the most upfront from the very beginning. Tashi, when she comes in, she already kind of is the Pat and Art's homoerotic relationship that they insist doesn't exist. But please, they're very much obsessed with each other. Tashi makes it very clear from the jump that she doesn't want to be a homewrecker because, as I said, she has sussed that there's more hidden underneath their friendship than just platonic feelings. And the boys insist that no such home shall be wrecked. Tashi has made, not only in their first communications, but consistently throughout the entirety of her relationship with the boys, where her passions and her true love lies. It is with tennis. From the very start, we know what her plan is for life and where she sees herself and what she centers in that life. And that is tennis. And her plan is to try to establish a long-term career in tennis. And she knows that she has a shelf life as a player in tennis. Even if she would have gone on to play past her injury, if her injury didn't give her a pause in the career, she never, as she said, she never wanted to just be a player. She always wanted more stakes, more control in the game. She wanted to ensure that she had longevity in that sphere, in that industry, and she knew that that longevity did not come with being a female tennis player. No matter what, she wants a career in tennis. She makes that very clear. She makes it very clear on several occasions to these men that above all to her is tennis. They just choose, well, one of them for sure chooses not to listen. The other one listens, but he just puts it in his back pocket for another day. Knowing this about Tashi, everything should be very clear when we look at all of her decisions and her decision-making processes. When she makes a decision to wager a bet between Art and Pat as to who she'll date, that's based off her love for tennis. She wants to see these two guys who are a weird platonic yet romantic dynamic with each other, to have that tension build and flat out on the court. She also wanted to see Art hopefully get some drive and some fuel out of this from having this fight with his pseudo lover, because in Tashi's eyes, Art has more potential. She makes that clear as well. She thinks Art is the technical better player, but Art does not have passion, but we're gonna get to that. Art lacks competitive spirit, the competitive spirit that, Fire has. So she wanted to see him pushed to a point where she would see him play a great game. That was what was her mindset. And when he fails to win, even though we also see from the very beginning she seemed more attracted to Art, she always wanted really to have Art, but Art lacked something that was integral to her, which was passion for the game. So Passion wanted to meet with Passion, and she picks Patrick. Patrick does not have passion for the game. Patrick has passion for attention. He wanted Tashi's attention, so he went all out for that game. But he is a chaotic person. He isn't consistent. He doesn't care about the game the way Tashi does. Tashi eats, breathes, sleeps the game. She doesn't just have passion and competitive spirit for the sport. She has it to an intense degree where everything she endeavors to do is to result in a great game that is fierce. Patrick don't got that. Patrick is not a disciplined person, and he will never be, and he could never be, and that's why they never worked, he could never be disciplined in that way. Also, Patrick does not want to be domineered. Patrick, as the attention-seeking person in his relationships, he is used to commanding the forefront. So when Tashi tries to insert herself into his career by trying to be his coach, he does not take that lightly, because he does not want to be second hand to anybody. Because to be coach and mentored is to be in a way an underling to someone, because you are allowing them to train you. You are allowing them to shape, or at least help you shape your career. And usually a mentor is someone you look up to. A coach is someone you look up to. He refuses to look up to Tashi. Even if she is the better player, he can't put her on that pedestal above him. He is incapable of it, because that would take shine away from him. And he does not work well in those kind of relationships. He is the kind of person to constantly seek out other people who will be able to submit to him in order for him to feel good. And that's where the two of them can never work. And so the moment where she realizes that he will never allow her to have command over her career, I think that's where she decided to cut ties. Because after the injury, if she really was this master manipulator, like she could have tried to manipulate Patrick with her injury, into guilting him into doing the things that she wanted to do with him. Instead, she just decided to bury that relationship. Tashi did not respect him at that point, and she wasn't going to get what she wanted from him at that point. So she knew he was a lost cause. Their relationship was over. She also didn't have to get that injury to start the relationship that she starts with Art, because that doesn't even happen right after. It happens much, much later on. So I also don't see Tashi as this master manipulator. If anything, out of all three of them, she is the most open about what she wants. Art, on the other hand, is the less vocal one. If you look at her ending is tragic but I guess the fact that she finally got to watch some good fucking tennis. Patrick as well, he doesn't really tell you anything. Patrick doesn't tell, but Patrick shows. Patrick is very showy about his intentions. He won't communicate that, but he will show you. Patrick is obsessed with dominating people, as I've said. He's a very attention-seeking person, but he's just so very chaotic in nature. He doesn't want to be held down. I think Patrick has commitment issues, funny enough. I think he did really care for Art, and maybe he cared for Tashi in a way, but he is not capable of healthy love, because he doesn't strive to be that kind of person at all. He's just he just wants to be. We learn that Patrick is the catalyst for Art's sexual awakening. The first time that Art experienced, sensual feelings and experiences, it was through the guiding hand of Patrick. As I said, Patrick likes to be on the mentor pedestal, and he likes to look down at his partner and have them submit to him and his lifestyle, supporting him. He wants someone to constantly support him on his pedestal. And that, he had that from Art at a very early age. And he could not get that from Tashi. And that is another one of the reasons why they were never going to work. The things that they want were so incompatible to each other. But that's why it so worked with Art. But now he doesn't have access to Art because of Tashi. And I think there's resentment there. He resents the both of them. And that's why, even to this day, because he's such a chaotic person, he loves having this chance to mess with them. That's why he continues to sleep with Tashi, because he wants to mess with Art. And he wants to mess with Tashi for taking Art away from him. Art was someone who was, as I said, for him, was never going anywhere until she came. And so for him, it's just all a dalliance. He's just having fun. The stakes are never really high in his mind. He doesn't care. But I do think he misses having that dynamic with someone, because he doesn't have that now. We see that he's just like floating around, we see that he's just floating around because he doesn't want to be involved with his parents. But really and truly, he could go back to a lush and fluffy lifestyle at any drop of the dime if he wanted to. But Tashi did not have that. We also see that not manipulative nature of Patrick. He's never outgrown, because he sleeps and dates with people just to get resources out of them. Because that is just the kind of guy he is. He's not changed. He does not intend to change, and he shall never change. Well, none of these three people change, and that's why we have this toxic circle. So if you've kept off, we have not circle, square. In this square, we got tennis. Then we have Tashi. So in this weird square, we have like tennis, Tashi, and then we have Patrick. And for the last piece of our square, we gotta talk about Art. Art, sweetie, you need to stand up. Art, sweetie, you need to stand up. Yeah, you need therapy, sweetie. All y'all need therapy. But yeah, Art is a submissive. Art, and very much like Patrick, he doesn't communicate his intentions or what he wants, his desires, his goals, none of that. He doesn't tend to communicate very well. What he does do is show you. And it's not like these other two don't know really what it is that Art wants. They do. Patrick was able to know without even seeing Art and having a relationship with Art for several years, and he already knew what Art wanted for the end of his career, and he put that back at Tashi, and she was faced with that, and that's the truth, and she knew it as well. She was hoping against this. She was hoping that maybe she could persuade him as his wife to go in a different direction, but she didn't even have that power. She is not a master manipulator. If anything, sad as it seems, she seems to be the worst off out of the two. She really rarely gets what she wants in this. Again, we see from the very beginning that Art is obsessed with Patrick. It's so clear. Like, he always, you can tell by in the way that they communicate from the very beginning. The way that they communicate, it's always reflective of Patrick's the best, and of course I'm right here with you, supporting you. It's like, oh, we're in this together, but Patrick's the best. you know, they have this dynamic where it feels very clear in how they communicate who is a priority in their relationship. Patrick is the priority in their relationship, and Art supports that dynamic. But they truly have the most toxically codependent relationship square, whatever you want to call it. I've seen it a good while, and that's what makes this movie great. But Art constantly allows Patrick, and then later on Tashi to kind of domineer and make snide comments and belittle him constantly as he runs and runs to chase after validation from them. He constantly subjects himself to the way, be like, oh, do you think I could beat you? Or do you think I could do it? Or do you think I could beat him? He constantly seeks like this affirmative validation through words from people who he knows truly don't have it in them to do such a thing. They're incapable of that kind of nurturing, supportive, constant, feeding validation. They are not capable of it. But he loves it. He loves it. Because there is no reason for him to be with either of these people. To a certain degree, you can understand as his obsession with Patrick more than Tashi, because he grew up with Patrick. They were childhood friends. They've known each other all of their lives. They were stuck to each other, and for all their lives, he has probably been like the supporting lead to Patrick's more dominating personality. So he's probably developed this, as I said, toxic codependency to that dynamic, because he's literally gone his whole entire developmental years with it. His first sensual awakening was in that kind of dynamic with Patrick taking the lead. People say that they think Art loves Tashi, and he says that he loves her, but I don't really ever hear him say, I love you. What he does say is, anyone would love you. Who wouldn't love you? And again, it's that kind of idealization. Are you in love with her, or do you think a guy like you should be? Because even though technically Art is the breadwinner, he's the big man on campus, he is the star player, he has these endorsements, these campaigns, he's the face of his own brand, he still seeks to get validation from his idol, Tashi. But if he truly wanted to, he has the power in that relationship to turn the tables. He chooses not to because that's not what he wants. She knows that, he knows that, but she feels stuck because without him, she does not have tennis. But Tashi and Art, now those two are stuck. And I hope they enjoy it. But that's been my video today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please, 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 if you can, subscribe and like to my videos. I'm trying to build a lot more content and put a lot more content out for you guys to be more consistent now that I'm done with law school and I've graduated and I'm starting a job. So I'm just able to just kind of like have a schedule and plan things out on a more consistent basis and try to get more into YouTube. And if you want to see the quality and caliber of my videos continue to increase and for me to like put more effort or any money into this, if I can get monetized, that would be amazing. I'm only at 308 subscribers. You need at least 500. So if you can get me monetized, guys, that would be very appreciative. 12,000 of you watched the Kemi video. I just need a couple of hundred. Please subscribe and like. Thank you. Bye.
Here we go, it's all about you, it's all about me, it's all about what we do. Making art, you and me, trying to find something to believe, because I'm running wild, like running free. Still got a lot of shit left to see.